All right. Super sorry for the delay. All right. Hopefully that holds up. It's looks like it's going good. Um my computer is just churning right now.
Yeah, my laptop has a little fan, but it's not too loud. All right, well, let me know when it's time to read. I'll push the button.
Okay, I think we're good now.
Okay,
I
push the
think
button.
we are good. Just taking a second. I'm trying to push the button as well. I always get like into this mode where I'm like yeah, let's go, and then I there we go. And then I forget to say like, hey, we're live now.
What's up, everyone?
All right. So funny. There's so many things you gotta do.
Check all the boxes.
Yeah. All right. So final step. I just gotta hit record on this guy so we can have uh, just kind of a backup through Zoom, and then we should be good to go. I guess if you're watching this thing live, if you're in chat, let us know if how the audio sounds. I'm gonna test it right now.
All the boxes.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. We're not peaking.
All
All
right.
right, so that is that's good. No peaking. Um, okay, it looks like maybe there's a little bit of an issue, but
Mm-mm.
hopefully that'll resolve itself. Cool, cool, cool. And then I was hearing a duplicate on my audio, so I think that I have my aux is I think it's picking up my computer audio for some reason. So I think we're good. All right, all right, all right.
Give me a second.
Yeah, no problem.
Apparently, the Apple AirPods gave out as they do.
Dude, that is the you know what? Better now than later.
Well, my daughter had them this morning. I was like, hey, I needed those. Let me charge them before the call.
I feel
The
like this
moral of the
is
story is buy more Apple AirPods.
I know we were just talking about this like kind of before we started on stream, like just the like what a silly time we picked to have to do this during like an Apple event where they're announcing like a totally new architecture for MacBooks and
Yeah,
whatnot. But so it
iOS
goes.
14.
So I think we got everything set up. Um, and I think I just want to kind of like cover some of the like high level topics before we kind of officially dive into the episode recording. Um, I think we'll probably start with like me just kind of asking you a little bit about like what dim is, for people who are not into it, kind of setting the stage for it. And then I think the rest of the time we'll probably talk about like mostly about like its open sourceness, like kind of why you decided to
Yeah.
open source it, the community side of it, which you'd mentioned, um, funding and management and whatnot. And I think probably end with just a lot of your excitement about kind of like what's going on in this world, this crossover of like streaming and gaming and all that kind of stuff, which you'd mentioned. Um, is there anything in particular that you'd like to make sure that we like pitch or touch on or make sure that people know about, um, you know, in the episode?
No, I mean that pretty much covered it.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. Let me see. I'm gonna check one thing real quick to see. Just make sure my network is okay. Cool. Hopefully the stream evens out a little bit. Not super sure why we're having a little bit of glitchiness, but hopefully it evens out now that I'm like hardwired into the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Okay.
cool. Let's do this. And we usually shoot. I mean, like we'll probably we shoot for about like 40-ish minutes. It kind of depends on like kind of like how far we want to go, but yeah.
Yep. Cool.
Double says, "Hey Goose, Dim is the best." I don't know. Can you see these comments on your site, or are you on the YouTube page?
Yeah, I just turned on the YouTube page,
Nice,
so
nice,
I'm reading
nice.
with you.
Yeah, super useful. This is fun. This will be a fun crossover for me because I'm like new to the whole gaming thing. All
It
right,
looks good.
cool, cool. All right, in three, two, one. Rick Casey, welcome to React Podcast.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So I am super excited to have you on, and honestly, so my son doesn't give a crap about React Podcast. He's 10, and he has no idea what the show's about or why anyone should ever care about like a programming language or whatever. But I told him yesterday. I was like, dude, you're not gonna believe who I'm talking with. I'm talking with the guy who made Dim, and he was like, what? I'm gonna have to listen. That's so awesome.
Cool.
So it's like a totally this will be a kind of like a fun experience for me, but for our audience who's like maybe more accustomed to like just strictly kind of like programming or technology or like whatever, I was hoping that you could give us a high level overview of like what Dim is and like what value that
Sure.
it provides to the Destiny game playing community.
Yeah, Dim's a web app that interfaces with an API provided by Bungie, who makes a video game called Destiny. And Destiny's a shooter. You explore the world, taking on bosses to collect loot, and you want to equip that loot. You want to move that loot between characters, but then you also want to understand how good that loot that you've earned is.
Yeah.
And so Dim fills that space by allowing you to create loadouts, which are like collections of loot to, for specific activities, and to understand the quality of it. And to actually, you can leave notes about it to share with other people in the community to let them know whether like, this is very desirable, this particular role is desirable. Um, but just to kind of sum it all up, it's just we try to make the player more productive with their time playing Destiny. We all come in, end of our work days, kids are put to bed, and I got like an hour, maybe two, to play video games. And I don't want to spend time picking out what to wear or finding a gun that's on another character and changing characters, because all that would take about 15 minutes. We could do it in 30 seconds with drag and drop on a computer or just on a phone, right? So we're going to get you in the game playing, and we're going to keep you in the game until it's time to go to bed. And so that's what it is. That's what, like, we're a player productivity device.
I love that. I love that. It's so funny because I am not. I've never really played video games a lot. My growing up, my brother just would destroy me on all video games, and so I kind of gave up. I was like, video games are not my thing, obviously. But then when this quarantine hit, I think like a lot of people, I was like, you know what? I need some kind of like level of interaction with somebody. Like I can't go out and like actually like spend some time with people. Like what can we do? And Destiny felt like a natural fit because it's online, it's collaborative. You can kind of go and have that experience where you're just like battling a boss with your friends and whatnot. And but it's immediately you feel that need of kind of having to manage gear. Like once you have more than like 9 pieces of anything, it's like now it's a huge hassle to do anything. And I just remember watching on stream, like I would watch videos of people, and like it just seems like everybody was using Dim to kind of like manage their gear. So I'm curious, like tell me about the inspiration and like the original phase of Destiny Item Manager and kind of how you had the like audacity to start like building this thing to help people in their in-game experience.
Yeah. So, I play with a clan of players. We have about 100 friends who all meet up to play games. And we've been playing a game. We've been playing together for about 15 years, so long tenure of friendship. And we'd say, okay, hey, 9 o'clock, let's get together. We need 6 of us to do a particular raid, Vault of Glass. And this is early in Destiny's career. So what inevitably would happen is people would show up 9:05 and say, oh, I got to find some stuff. And then they would have to put all their loot in a character in the vault, change characters, grab all that stuff, and that workflow would take 10, 15 minutes for just one character. And so we would not get started until 9:15, 9:20. And raids are serious business. These are
Yeah.
long events that take skill, and you it can be hours.
Yeah.
And so we don't have that much time. And so we felt that pain, that startup cost of getting a large group together for a difficult activity. So about March, Bungie released an API, and their credit, Bungie has done some really great things to enable third-party developers to create experiences for players. And Destiny is so far, I mean, they've taken it through every generation of every game and made it better and better, but Destiny's the best now that we've ever had it. And so they released the first version of their API. And a developer named Utrol, Kyle, he created the very first version of Destiny Item Manager and released it open source without license on GitHub. And then the day I saw it on Reddit, like the day he released it, I reached out to him and said, "Hey, I want to work with you on this. Very much so. This is something that I've been looking forward to. You've cracked the nut and figured it out. Let's make something beautiful." And so he's like, "Yeah, let's do it." So that started the process. And so that's where we got between Kyle's inception, my interest in creating something that would encourage people to contribute.
Yeah.
Because he did a POC that was just spaghetti code. He was just, he had 4 nights to make this and get it out and be the first. This was his own personal raid. And he did it, and then I jumped in and said, let me help make this something so that we can federate development, get people inside, working with us, and, start building this contribution model with GitHub. And that's 5 years ago.
Wow. So now 5 years ago, so this was in like the Destiny 1 time?
Yeah.
Okay. Wild. So the game's actually changed quite a bit since then.
Yes.
Is there still support in DIM for Destiny 1, or is it all kind of like
Yes.
Destiny 2 at this point?
There is. In fact, DIM supports Destiny 1 and Destiny 2.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you have your Destiny 1 characters added to your Bungie.net profile, we see that and we bring it up in the UI. So it's one of your options in the lower left-hand corner of the menu.
That's awesome. Awesome.
So every now and then I open it up and look back at my old gear and think about all the fun I had collecting it.
Oh, for sure.
Nostalgia is beautiful.
It is. And I feel like that's probably like a really good way to experience that, as opposed to like trying to like find an old Xbox or whatever and like load up the game, just kind of like seeing that it's still there, kind of like
that's all you
away.
need.
That's all you need.
The memories are better than ever going back into the game, I find.
Yeah.
I like, I can remember a couple of Crucible games that were just amazing and a couple of raids that were amazing. And then, like the endless hours of patrolling with friends in the early game, just collecting mats and chatting about life, right? The game was just sitting on a bar stool for me,
Yeah. So I want to talk about all of the community stuff, but before that, I'd like to just kind of dive into kind of the evolution of the actual product itself. So you have Destiny Item Manager. Did you suspect that it would blow up to the degree that it has, or did you think it was just kind of like a niche thing that you'd be able to enjoy, with your friends and like a handful of people that you know well, or like did you always suspect that this is something that the community at large needed?
I think people needed it. Being first helps. We didn't have vision towards, like it would be, significant as it is. We would trend as well as Destiny would trend. And Destiny's done very well. And so that helps us grow. But we depend on streamers and word of mouth.
Yeah.
To kind of get our name out. Bungie does put us in their This Week at Bungie. A newsletter that goes out every Thursday. Mm-hmm. So every now and then they'll have like a community focus or some special event, and then we could be highlighted there. We're also when you do, this is really new, very recently. If you sign up for a profile on Bungie.net, they have a third-party developer section at, at like the mid page. So after you get down over the fold, and it talks about DIM and other third-party apps to let new players know that they can have this additional experience
Yeah.
beyond the game. So we've been getting some support, but it's been interesting. Like every now and then I open up analytics and I see, the history of the app, and it starts off real tiny. You can see the sine curve of growth, and we are ever since last year, business is good.
Yeah.
We are, for some reason, everybody knows about us now, and everybody likes using our app, and it makes us really excited. We're very happy to be able to provide something that's of value, and we take that, we carry that with importance. We try to make sure that we stay up, no interruptions, consistent service, and it's a free app. We do it for fun, this is our hobby. We don't treat it like work, but we do give it the respect it deserves because we know people depend on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I do want to talk about you'd mentioned that community is super important to you, and that was really your original vision for jumping into the project. It's like, how can we start to develop a community around this, get people to contribute, and even pay them a little bit for their efforts. So tell me about what that's looked like over the last 5 years of developing
Sure.
Destiny Item Manager.
So like in the very beginning, it was a PayPal account. People would contribute to that account. There was just a little button on the page, and there was two developers, myself and Kyle, and we carried that for a long time. There'd be occasional contributions in the beginning, but for like the first year and a half, it was really just myself and Kyle working together. I was doing by large most of the maintenance and upkeep. Every time there was an update, I'd have to make some changes to kind of keep track with Bungie. We don't get any foresight in anything.
Sure.
we experience the game just like anybody else, and then we have to react, quickly to make sure that we were back up within a few hours after the update. But it was a pretty manual experience. There were some technology barriers that prevented us from doing a lot of automation. And I kept that up for about, I want to say 2 years in total. And then I was starting to feel a significant amount of burnout, like pretty significant, between playing the game, being a dad, doing, well at work, and then trying to run DIM. I was very fatigued.
Well, because you've created a new job for yourself, right? Like
I did.
You only had a limited amount of game time as a dad and worker, and like now you got to divide that between actually making DIM for everybody.
That's right. No, it was significant, and so another developer joined up around that time. His name is Ben, and he kind of took the mantle as the lead developer and carried forward our Angular-based code at the time. We developed an AngularJS back in 2015. And, over the next year, understood what was being done, kind of developed an environment, and then we began a transition from AngularJS to React, in part because we needed to modernize. We wanted to tap into a lot of new features. We wanted to work in a language that would, work on a framework that would bring folks to the platform to want to help code. And React was perfect for that. And it's been very successful for us in terms of attracting talent. So now that I'm not writing as much code, I'm spending more time looking at Reddit, looking at other environments, finding people who are making stuff, and I invite them to our Slack, and where we build community of app developers. And that's been very great for us, sharing information, being cordial to each other, developing this cooperative relationship that's also very competitive.
Sure.
So we love building the great thing, and we help each other to build those great things. And it's great to see that kind of the fraternity of developers, the camaraderie present. That's been really good. And so we've ended up now with three maintainers, Kyle, myself, and Ben. We have probably five consistent contributors. So a team of eight. And then we have about 12 to 15 translators who contribute to the platform to make sure that, when they interact with them, they interact with their native language. So that way we always feel like we're home for them. It's
Yeah.
not, you know,
How uh, how many languages does Dim exist in now?
I want to say 13. I
Oh,
could be
wow.
wrong.
Amazing.
Ish. We match whatever Destiny offers. So whatever Destiny is localized in, we match that localization. And so we take, we take all the contributions received from the community. We migrated from PayPal to Open Collective. Open Collective is an open source focused payment platform where people can contribute to those programs. It's great for us because it's super transparent. You see where
Sure.
all the contributions come from and where they all go.
Yeah.
Anybody can create an expense against it. It has to be approved by a maintainer. So there's no questions about where things are and where they're going. We have invoices. What's really nice about Open Collective is they issue 1099s. They handle tax
wow.
obligations for us.
Cool.
It's not double taxed because I'm not receiving it and then paying it out.
Sure.
There's significant benefits that you don't have to think about. Like in terms of tax obligations, right? Most people don't consider that when they receive their PayPal.
Yeah.
Or we care about that stuff. And so when we want to pay out to the developers and translators, we keep that in mind and let them know that these are some of the obligations you have. Many of them are international, so it changes the game a little bit.
Sure.
But it's been pretty good. We've enjoyed the platform, Open Collective. It's a little bit tough for people. Most people are used to Patreon or PayPal, or something like that. And so when they want to support DIM, they don't see the name brands that they're used to.
Interesting.
And so I think that's like a friction in terms of wanting to support us. Like they don't understand that Open Collective is our payment portal.
Right. Like they're used to seeing like PayPal and that triggering something of like, oh, hey, like they're looking for funds. Like and so I can jump in there. But like, if you're not familiar with the brand, it's kind of like, okay,
exactly,
just another badge on this website.
And we're not heavy-handed with it at all.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not out there with our tin cup, shaking it, saying, hey, and we don't put anything behind paywalls. Like DIM is open.
Yeah.
Our beta site is open where we do all of our advanced work that's not, in the app yet. Nothing is behind paywalls. We want everyone to have a great experience.
Yeah.
That's it. Our server-side API that we provide is relatively inexpensive. It can be covered by our current donation amounts and still has enough left over for everyone to receive a contribution. We're not replacing day jobs. The way I like to put it is DIM is going to buy everybody a really nice meal once in a while. That's kind of what it does. Good bottle of wine, good meal, and take your significant other out on DIM.
Well, there's so many ways that we could kind of like go through this, because there's the the React side of thing, like your transition to React, and kind of how that's been attractive to people. Also, just kind of the kind of how funds work, and the actual like building of the product. And I'd love to, as much as we can, like cover all of those. One thing that I was really excited to see is that, as you mentioned, this is a very like modern code base. So it's using, React. I believe it's using TypeScript. It's using that API. So it's really demonstrating like how you can do authorization, localization, authentication, localization, and you're deployed to AWS, right?
We use a droplet.
Oh, okay, cool.
So we don't go to AWS with ours.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, and I've been pointing a lot of people to this project because there are not a lot of projects that exist like this, that are like projects that are used by like millions of people and are open source. You see, usually you get to like a point where like these things are kind of, the really interesting React projects are closed source.
Yeah.
And this is fun because like you go through this and you're like, well, this is a lot of React developers have a hard time knowing how to take that next step, going from
Yeah.
like just the front end to like a full blown application that connects to a back end, does the authentication, and is deployed to a robust server somewhere.
Mhm.
And you've really made that, and having it open source is such a, I think, gift to the React community. What are some of the most exciting parts of the actual code base for you now that it's kind of transitioned into React and TypeScript and all that?
I would say, to be frank, I've ever since Ben came on, I've largely divorced myself from the code base. The
Yeah,
React framework is his, and he's developed it along with other developers like 48Klog, Delphi, Nev. They've worked on that code base. The things that I'm most interested in that they've done though is some of the UI work around our responsive features, so that the desktop app and the mobile app have unique capabilities. It's not just responsive features. It's
yeah,
using React with media query hooks to understand what components to render at what resolutions. Using share sheets or just sheets in general. We make our own action sheets. So we're pouring a lot of our own effort currently into making DIM first class experience on mobile, and
mm,
not just being the desktop reduced to mobile. So
interesting.
we're still the same code base, but definitely improving that experience.
Yeah, so for right now, you have a fantastic desktop experience. I believe that you're using like React Beautiful DND to handle all of the like drag and drop, like equipping stuff, um, and that actually works really well on mobile. That's how I consume it, like either on my iPad or like on my phone. It's been
Mhm.
amazing. But the primary distribution for that is as a like was it PWA?
Yes.
How how has that experience been? And you mentioned wanting to go native. Have there been some holdups in kind of like transferring, the PWA to like a native kind of in the app
Yeah,
store experience?
we have toyed in the past many times about developing a mobile app because we wanted. So the important part for the mobile experience is access to the app stores. I mean, folks have been trained. If you're on a phone, you get software from the app stores,
Yeah.
and DIM traditionally has not been in those. In the past year, Google Play Store and Microsoft Store have made it pretty easy to add PWAs to their app stores. So they build wrappers around the web
Hmm.
interface,
Hmm.
and then we host them. So APKs are being hosted inside the Play Store, Microsoft with their own container format. But they act just like the web browser. They take the updates as we push them out with our, the service workers are watching.
Oh,
They take
nice.
the update, do the trigger. So we don't actually have to update the stores unless we do something to the APK. The apps just upgrade. But what that has done for us, though, is just that we're now a part of that search. You type in
Yeah.
DIM or Destiny Item Manager in Google Play, hey, we're there now. Uh, so most people are on their couches and not near their PCs. So we really needed that footprint to make DIM more accessible to people. Um, I would say by far, DIM is great for like moving items on
Yeah.
mobile. Our significant features in terms of our loadout optimizer or comparing the items you have, those do best on tablet or desktop where you have much more screen real estate to kind of get into the stats and
Sure.
details. From your hand, with your phone client, it's really about giving me the thing I need now or making room on my character to get the thing that's in the game. So we're trying to have like stories that are focused on where you are on the couch with what you have, your phone, versus stories like being at your desk, or if you're at work and you happen to be looking at DIM on your break, and you just want to kind of process your stuff and kind of get ready for your playtime when you get home. So that way your characters are good to go. That's what we try to do. But yeah, so we don't build native. We want one code base. We don't have enough time to manage multiple code bases. And our PWA story has been really great for us.
Yeah.
I really wish iOS would get on board with PWAs and make it a
Yeah.
first class citizen in
Yeah.
their app store, but you know,
Well,
That
this
hasn't
is
happened yet.
it's interesting because it really showcases the value of like what a team can do and like how they can distribute to like different places. Like when we
Yep.
actually honor the PWA as like a first class application, right? And so like in stores, you're able to just wrap it and then have that be like searchable in these kind of like closed box, like, retailers,
The,
if we
the
will.
walled gardens.
Yeah, the walled gardens. And
Yeah.
but it's also, unlike an app that lives just in the store, is accessible like anywhere. Like that's my favorite thing about
Yeah.
like Dim is like I went to, destiny-item-manager.com, I like logged in with Bungie and I was in, right? Like it like on all
Yeah.
my devices. It was like just super easy. I didn't have to download an app. Like I love PWAs. Um
They're the best.
they're the best.
Yeah. I mean, unless there's like some significant requirement for, sensors on the device or infrastructure like
Yeah.
push notifications. No, I don't need it. Like PWAs are great. I mean, there are some benefits definitely to native experiences in terms of maybe
Sure.
some fluidity or, uh, you know, OS specific capabilities provided by Swift or whatnot. But just, I don't know, man. Anything that I've been building lately, PWA is a great answer for it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and I love that you can, at least in the Google Play Store, you're able to get those like collect those search results, right?
Yes.
And be able to kind of get people that same experience, the same product in their hands. And I find it interesting too that with these experiences, you are able to actually update the app without updating it in the store. And that feels really critical for something like Destiny Item Manager, where you might be getting new features from the API on like at the weekly reset or like with each new season, etc. And it might be kind of prohibitive to like actually like I guess request a new review or like
Oh
whatever that
yeah,
process looks like.
yeah. There would be a significant drag in getting releases out for us. So we use CI/CD from Travis.org. Another thing that you can kind of learn and get your hands around when you check out our open source, our website. Um, you could see how we handle CI/CD and take. We have an action that monitors the manifest, which is
Mm,
the database that Bungie provides. And whenever the manifest updates, we know that there are new updates out there. So we can trigger a build that has a whole series of events that occurs, because we have libraries that we publish to share TypeScript definitions with other third-party products. Some of our competitors.
sure.
We make some of our libraries accessible to them because we kind of fill in some of the gaps in the data that are not covered by what's provided by Bungie. So that's some of the contributions that we make that we provide through npm. Um, but yeah, so we use Travis CI/CD to trigger those builds, and then your next time you load the native app container, it updates, and you'll get a little indicator in the top left hand corner that says time to update dim. Something
Yeah.
new's waiting for you. You know. So we use a service worker. From our perspective, we cache locally with a service worker, so that way you can start the app. It's very quick, and you're going to have the last experience ready to go immediately. If our site's ever down, service worker's still going to run because it's all cached locally, and you're just communicating with Bungie's API.
Sure.
Like you're not going through our servers.
Yeah.
Your data is private. We don't care about that. And in fact, that's not uncommon to see people fork our site or pull our code and run that site locally on their machines. I mentioned, we see examples of DIM running in China
Oh wow.
off of different sites. People are hosting DIM, for themselves or for their
Sure.
clan, and that's great. Doesn't bother us. We love it. We make it available. The official one is on our URL, but you're all more than welcome to take our code and download it, run npm or yarn, and start it up. And you'd be running DIM locally.
It's so cool. So cool.
Yeah.
Now, you'd mentioned, I think, two things that really caught my interest. Is one, really thinking about this from a product standpoint, just kind of thinking about the user stories and kind of like where they're coming from and whatnot. And one of the features that really stands out to me is the thumbs up on gear. So like as
Yes.
someone who's like brand new to like Destiny, it can be really overwhelming. And I'm talking about myself. Like it's super overwhelming to like have all this gear with all these like perks and like stats that you have no idea what they mean. Um, and having that little like thumbs up is like a really great way to like start. And I'm curious that that's not part of the Destiny API. That's something that's
Oh,
kind of like a value add of
mhm.
Destiny Item Manager. So I'm kind of curious, where do features like that live? You know, things that aren't
Sure.
part of the API. You know, what does that look like technologically for y'all?
I'll go back just a little bit. I was looking on Reddit one day and I saw an app called Destiny Percolator, I think it was
Okay,
called.
yeah.
And it was made by developers, 48 KLOC, 48,000 lines of code. I was like, that's a programmer. I'm gonna talk to that guy. So I reached out to him. I said, hey, I really like your the feature you built. You're telling people what's great. I think that would be really useful in the community. Why don't you join us and build that feature in a DIM? And I would give you an instant community. And that's the value add that we want to provide to
Yeah,
programmers. Folks that are out there building very useful, unique experiences. We would love to have them in DIM because we have users.
yeah.
We have 1 million unique users a month.
It's so wild.
Our session count is 20 million. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah,
instant community. So
yeah.
Percolator, I was like, this is great. We need to bring it in. And so 48 ended up joining the team. Now he's a contributor. We work with notables in the community who do weapon reviews, Panda Packs, Mercules, for example. They use DIM and other tools in the community to kind of build this wish list, which has a hash for each weapon and then hashes for each of the talent grid items,
Okay,
essentially the perks,
sure.
and they build this signature for the best rolls. And some of those are thumbs up and thumbs down. We don't do the thumbs down thing anymore. We used to. So now it's just thumbs up if it's good,
Yeah.
and if it's a perfect roll, I think it gets a star.
Oh, really? I've not seen
Yeah,
any stars yet,
I
so I got
got
to
to play
keep
more
grinding.
Destiny.
Yeah.
So we give things a perfect roll, a star. So generally we keep all the thumbs up stuff. There are differences between PvE and PvP weapons sometimes, but all that's stored in the notes. But yeah. So this was just a passion project by somebody in the community. We asked them to join us. They brought their code, they integrated it, and this is just like one version of that experience. We've been doing this in some way or form since Destiny 1. I mean, the app used to look like a Christmas tree because we had like red for bad, green,
Sure.
red, yellow, orange, um, green, and blue. Blue was like diamond.
Yeah, yeah.
You know. Anyway, so we've done several variations of this to kind of give a sense of quality. We've now just boiled it down to thumbs up or stars.
Yeah. Now, I know that this is kind of like a passion project. So, like, do you feel like there's just this great divide of like things that you would love to be able to introduce into DIM, but just like a severe lack of time?
Yeah, no, we're getting close. We've done a lot of them, technical stuff like
Yeah.
before we used to have this manual effort of getting the manifest and downloading all the images and packaging it up and I was producing a Chrome extension in
Hmm.
the beginning. This is how we were distributing the app way back when. It used to be a Chrome only experience. And now we have a SQLite client running in the browser
Oh,
that
wow.
downloads SQLite. Well, now that it was modified, but it was a SQLite client downloading SQLite databases and unpacking it in memory and then scraping it out and putting it inside isolated storage. And then we can use that on whenever you restart the app, we wouldn't do it again. So we found ways of automating the pain points of making the app work. Since then, Bungie's now providing JSON files, which has made everything so much better.
Sure.
Um, we tried to do voice activation a long time ago. Hey Dim, equip my
Oh, wow.
whisper. And we had an Alexa skill for a while working, but I mean, there's just a lot of friction in terms of voice, and some of these exotic names that are applied to weapons, and that just didn't pan out. I mean, it would have been so good because Bungie made this little ghost Alexa speaker.
Yeah.
and it's just right. But it's people power, bandwidth.
Yeah.
I have to beg for volunteers, and that's a pretty tough skill set to get for free, you know. So, but yeah, things in the future that I'm looking forward to. Um, I can't say.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of curious. You're working day in and day out on this Bungie API, and you've found ways to like kind of extend it to add functionality that is important to the people who are consuming it. Um,
Mhm.
are there things that you wish existed in the Bungie API that you could take advantage of that are just like you can't do from the outside?
It's. I want to be able to delete items, and that's not something that people want really, and because that's dangerous territory because then you're responsible, right,
Sure.
for the destruction of someone's. Like right now, people will tell us from time to time, you deleted my favorite thing, you deleted this thing I got. And usually what happens is there's a caching miss on the Bungie server and you're not seeing that data. It happens, and sometimes, so if you move a piece of gear, the cache is busted from the game server
Sure.
and it's available on the API. Like those things happen.
Yeah.
Or it's in the vault or on a different character. You just have to go and search for it and you'll find it. So those things happen. But if we allow deletes, because right now what happens is a lot of people move stuff to their current character and then they sign in and then just mass delete
Yeah. Yep.
to just get rid of all those blues, get rid of all the stuff that you don't want. I would like the ability to delete. And it's something I think we could take responsibly. Um, but that's a big step
Yeah. 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 It's a
to
lot of
to
lot of
to have that.
responsibility.
Yeah, to have that life cycle on your hands.
Yeah.
But that would be a great place to get to because then you can really curate your platform and I could put it in a promise and give you a 5-second undo,
Sure.
which is more than what the game does, man.
That's
You press
right.
that button in the game, it's like, yeah, delete gone. Yeah.
Yeah, you got like 3 seconds to change your mind after holding
Yeah.
that button down.
At one point, a long time ago, there used to be a bug that if you were pressing the delete operation and it started the 3 second, and then dim moved something,
Oh gosh,
whatever was under the reticle
it's just done.
was deleted. So if you'd move something while you were in the process of deleting, you would delete the thing that slid under it.
Oh,
And that was another source of, hey, dim deleted my thing.
yeah, yeah,
No, you were doing an operation while you were doing a deletion.
sure.
You shouldn't do that.
One thing at a
That's something
time.
that we tell people all the time. One thing at a time. Just if you're doing a loadout, you're doing a mass transfer, don't be trying to delete stuff in the game. That's just trouble. Anyway, yeah.
So I want to hear a little bit more about the way that you are helping people contribute by collecting money through Open Collective and giving them an opportunity to basically add features and whatnot and kind of make a little bit of money on doing that. And I guess also just kind of like numbers. I know that you've shared them with me. They're open on Open Collective. Kind of like what it looks
Yeah.
like to have a project that this is this successful. Like what the kind of like monetary status of things are, and
Sure.
um, because I think a lot of people think that one day they might be able to like make it with open source and like never have to work again, but that's not the case. All of you maintainers and contributors have jobs, and
Yeah.
yeah, tell me a little bit about that part of the story.
Well, we we have grown in terms of our contributions that we see. We currently are earning around 17,000 a year, which sounds nice for a hobby project.
Sure.
Not many hobby projects make money. But it is pennies
Yeah.
on the dollar in terms of developer time and just what it costs to have a programmer, regardless of the market that you're in the
Yeah.
United States. I mean, I'm in Birmingham, Alabama, not an expensive market, and programmers are still expensive. These are, and we're not talking about Silicon Valley programmers, and it still costs a good bit of money.
Yeah.
And so, our current yearly revenue is about 1 to maybe 2 months of a full-time developer. not that much. So,
So the primary
and
motivator for a lot of people contributing is just an interest in the project, interest in what you're doing, wanting to be part of kind of this intersection of both, like, gaming and web
yeah,
development communities.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they want to make a difference in the lives of millions of players.
Yeah.
And this is one of the few places you can do that. I mean, just for myself, right? It's 2015. I was 36 and thinking, I really want to do something one day that's big,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that makes a difference. And then this dim thing happened, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to go all in, and I'm like working until 2 a.m. trying to like maintain this thing and grow it, and it's all just, I mean, we were making maybe 3,000 a year at that point. It was just like, hey, nice dinner money. Let's
Yeah.
go out to eat this month, right? And that was between like me and Neutral. And now we have many more people contributing. And so one year we took all the money and we flew everybody to Seattle for a trip. And so I flew them and their spouses. We stayed at a hotel. We went for a day hike. We got to tour Bungee.
Oh, wow.
So we
Awesome.
created a great
Yeah.
experience, which is invaluable of itself, right? Where we all got to meet finally after working together for so long, and have that kind of really cool moment where it's like, I know everything about you, but I've never shook your hand.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so that was a really fun moment. If you ever read Ready Player One, it has like a moment in the book like that. Uh, this last cycle, because of the pandemic, we couldn't go anywhere. So everyone just essentially got payouts.
Hmm.
So everybody that was a contributor or up, we paid out $1,000.
Oh,
All of
wow.
our translators got 250.
It's awesome.
Which is great.
Yeah.
It was nothing to do in the pandemic but buy stuff on Amazon and hang out at the
Yeah,
house,
yeah,
right? So
yeah.
here,
Totally.
take this,
Take
go
it.
and have a good time and survive the pandemic. So we did that. It's like just a one time, let's liquidate the money, and we have a reserve for maintaining the servers.
Hmm.
And if once conventions start, we hold a reserve for sending somebody to the cons
Oh,
to
cool.
represent DIM. We make T-shirts and patches and some little stuff, just kind of things like like this little pin here.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, and this is really neat. I like these a lot. I'm not marketing them on your podcast, but
You
like
can. You're
we're
free
so
to.
proud of
Yeah.
the thing that we did. So we made this little patch, like a little
Oh,
iron on,
amazing.
and that's really cool. Like I'm a big aerospace geek, and
Yeah.
I grew up around the space shuttle as a kid, and patches were always just seeing the crew together who were
Totally.
accomplishing things, and so I wanted to make something that kind of respected the crew that was building DIM,
Yeah.
and like patches were like the thing that came to mind. Like wouldn't this be really neat? And
Yeah.
so that just trying to figure out ways of thanking people that aren't just monetary is always like percolating. Like how can I make somebody proud, and to kind of share that thanks I have for them for helping making this thing what it's become. You
Yeah.
know, because it's not I may do a lot of the talking, but it's the contributions of many have created DIM, and made it become what it is today.
Yeah. I you can see how that really, like, kind of that value extends, because even when we fired up this chat, like, it was like a ton of people just like came in to be like, oh my gosh, like, Goose, you're amazing, like, I love Dim, like, Dim's amazing. And I love that community atmosphere. I think that's something that I've always like struggled with trying to like figure out, but it's very clear that this was a vision of yours, like, from the very beginning, to try to find like-minded people, connect them to users, and just make a space where a lot of people with these two kind of common interests were able
Yeah,
to kind of enjoy a very vibrant community.
yeah. It's a vehicle for you to make your own action.
Hmm.
You want to shine? Come on, build this thing. Let's shine. You know what I mean? Let's be beautiful. Let's make something amazing. And I love to promote folks who are doing the work.
Yeah.
And you know, there are tremendous plus ones to this. Like we make something, and we share it with other developers and we network with each other. I mean, there's been there's folks that are solo projects, there's solo developers on these projects. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the developer behind Braytech, the lowly dev maps. Just give me some shout outs to names here. The Redix crew for their Crucible app. So many. Anyway, there's many people that come together. Oh, yeah, Vlad, he makes an app called Trials Report, which is huge.
Oh,
People
crazy.
love this app
Yeah.
because it's a competitive advantage to see
Yeah.
who your teams that you're fighting against. And one more, Guardian Theater. If you ever want to see something super cool with the API, like check out Guardian Theater. He did a thing where he looked at your recent games and then looked at the players, and then Bungie has their Twitch API on the profile. He can link Twitch clips to your game
Oh, wow.
and then show you where streamers have clipped.
No way.
And you could see him like with someone's like they get killed and they clip it to make sure you're not cheating. But it's like so satisfying to see those moments where they're just like, oh. And then there's other, so it's a really interesting service. I think that one to me is like really high in terms of the innovation, is being able to marry all the streaming platforms with the clips and the Xbox clips. And I think YouTube, he does that now. With your Crucible experience. That's super cool.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, we build things, we share it with them, and enable them. They read our source code. And we're MIT. Like I don't care what you do with it. This is not something we're monetizing. We DIM. Kind of going way back to being DIM is open source because we want to make cool things. We want to bring people together to build cool things, but we also want to enable people who want to make their thing.
Mm-hmm.
We figured a lot of stuff out in the beginning. We figured out how to work with the API when there was no documentation. We figured out how to authenticate, before Bungie gave us OAuth, and we were scraping cookies and doing all the wrong things.
But you were making it work. You were making it work, and you were helping people.
Why is DIM requesting my browser history? Well, I just need one thing. Promise.
No, I feel like you're really at the forefront of like kind of like gaming and kind of like gaming ergonomics and web development and streaming. Like you're in this space that is really this intersection that's really coming up right now.
Yeah.
And I always like to ask people, like as we close out the episode, like what you're excited about for like the next short term, like year to 3 years. And I think there's so much happening in like, in streaming and gaming and code. And like you said, that the was it Guardian Theater, where it's kind of actually querying all of these like different platforms and being able to like connect that back to you. What are some of the things that you think are just going to shine over the next, year to 3 years? Spaces that are going to be like that we should be keeping an eye out for.
Kind of looping back a little bit, talking about what you take away from working an open source project. I got recognized by the developers at Gearbox who were working on Borderlands because of the work I did on DIM. And I got brought on to a project. They were building a Twitch extension that interfaced with the game to allow streamers to have these experiences with viewers and vice versa. That had these tangible effects within the game world. And I think that's a big place to really be investing, is bringing together the viewer experience and the streamer experience and creating this new ways of interaction. I kind of see it as streamer versus viewer in some ways, where you can create these kind of moments of back and forth battling. The example we have in Borderlands was the Twitch extension allowed people to empower a particular enemy that they were battling with and level it up and strengthen it and really challenge the streamer to fight that experience. And I thought that was great. And I really enjoyed working on that project. I want to see more of that, deep integration in the game to just let people have new experiences that are kind of outside of that. Like, what can I do when I'm not in front of the couch
Yeah.
to change that? You know, can I earn loot while I'm not playing the game in some way? Like, I used to build ARGs. Are you familiar?
No. No. No.
Augmented reality games,
Okay.
ARGs.
Yeah. Yeah.
These were narrative constructs that were very popular in the early mid 2000s, um, where you could oh, receive a phone call from a game,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and then you would, you know, voice would pick it up, or there'd be buttons to press. But you know, it all comes down to like story by number. You know,
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
old
Yeah.
books. You know,
Yeah.
it was like those experiences. You can create these narrative experiences outside of the game that can bring you closer to the game. You know, and kind of bring the those who are looking for something more. You know, that want their entertainment property to kind of bring them deeper into that world. Um, I really enjoyed making those, and I think that the Twitch extensions and similar platforms that are bringing the viewers and streamers closer to the game are delivering that. And I think that, you know, it's a lot cheaper than ARGs were. ARGs got really expensive. Just the scale and infrastructure and trying to run all that stuff, it was pretty nuts.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to, it seems like your whole value for creating the Destiny Item Manager community is participation, right?
Yeah,
And it seems like a lot of the kind of the future of gaming and streaming and whatnot, as far as you've described it, is a lot more participation. Like whether you're, you know, buffing the enemy, or you're kind of like collecting some of the loot that gets you know, found or discovered as like the streamers playing, that there's going to be a lot more opportunities for us to not just watch or kind of like take part in chat while it's happening, but to actually like be a part of the thing as it
yeah,
unfolds.
yeah. I mean, that's I think the best way to kind of have. I mean, you know, when you're watching a streamer, and it's like being on the, you know, calling a radio back in the 80s and 90s and having them say your name. You know what I mean? Like those
Yeah,
that really exciting moment when you heard your name on the radio. You know, and
totally.
you're like, you want that, you want a piece of that feeling. You know, and this is like one way to kind of do it that is easy on a single person, the streamer, to manage, right? So
Yeah.
that the extension is facilitating some of these great moments for viewers. I mean, I really think that. Uh, that dopamine smash of, you know, having that really great that experience is really what people are chasing. I'd like to be
Totally.
able to provide that.
Totally. Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons, you know, streaming is like, you know, come up so much, is that you know, unlike, you know, videos and you know, they're like pre-recorded, you know, just being able to like see yourself on screen for a second is pretty rad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it is. And I mean, there's even new experiences to think about, like there's microcurrencies on Twitch called bits,
Uh-huh.
and through bits you can actually purchase, you know, things, right? You
Yeah.
can create extensions that allow bits transactions to occur, and so it's definitely a revenue stream that you can consider for streamers. You know, so the things that we build as developers can sustain a channel,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, and allows chat to do something that helps their favorite channels prosper. And then we can also terrorize the streamer by spawning mobs. You know,
Sure.
I'd pay $1 to do that. You know,
Yeah, it's kind of like at you know, certain theme parks. I don't know if they do this anymore, but I remember some of the water rides. You could,
uh-huh.
you know, if you were just watching people, you could like go in and there was a machine where you could like push a button or like throw a
There you
quarter
go.
in, and it would like just shoot like water out of a volcano like right as someone's like going under it. And like there's something fun about being able to participate in that way, and like you said, like terrorize the person who's in the
Oh yeah,
experience.
trolling someone is fun if it's lighthearted and fun. You know, like dropping a grenade on them.
Yeah, yeah. Just see how good they actually are.
Yeah.
Well, hey, this has been super fun. Thank you so much for telling me about your experience, just, you know, building DIM, building the community around that, and kind of your vision for community in both realms, both gaming and software. It's kind of the end of our time today, but is there anything that you want to, like, you know, pitch or let people know about, so that they could get involved in kind of either side of this community you're building?
Yeah, definitely. We have a Discord. You can find us, Destiny Item Manager. The link is in our Twitter bio.
Okay.
Um, that's a great place to join us. We have a developer channel, support channel, a general channel, so we can all chat with other folks, learn how to use DIM to its greatest ability. We can do a lot for you. Some of it is pretty accessible. Others takes a little skill. You'll have to build it up. Um, we crave new developers all the time. Definitely people that are interested in, um, you know, growing their skill set, wanting to network with other developers, which I think is for me the best part of all of this is
Yeah.
just networking and not even the hardcore skills. I mean, just meeting people, learning from their experiences. You can't get that out of just watching YouTube videos about
Yeah.
technology.
Yeah.
You need to share the war stories. I think that's super important, and it's been the best thing that I've taken away from this entire experience is the networking.
Yeah.
So, come join us on Discord, have the conversation, and then eventually get you into our GitHub where you can see the source code. We got a bunch of first good issues labeled.
Awesome.
So take a stab, see what you can do, help us out. They're pretty simple, but if you have any questions, always feel free to ask. Start there and see
Yeah.
where it goes.
Yeah, if you, I can't recommend enough. If you, are into React, as I imagine most of the audience listening to this show is, and want to dive into an open source product with like huge ramifications, using React, TypeScript, all the good stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
this is a good place to like dive in, and a really great warm community to start your open source journey with. Awesome. Well, we'll link all that stuff in the description, and I'll probably have to get a picture from you for anyone who's listening to this via audio on those patches because they look super cool. I'd love to be able to include those in the show notes.
Okay.
But yeah, hey, thanks so much for being here, Rick. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for hosting. This is a great place. Appreciate it.
Nice. We did it. Did
Cool. It only took an hour, a bit longer.
it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's so many things to talk about.
I had to remember to get some names thrown out from some of the other developers that work with us.
Yeah, yeah.
I wanted to make sure I gave them some call outs.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you mind maybe just messaging me, kind of when you send me your audio, if you'd mind messaging me a couple of the things that people and products that you'd mentioned, so I can throw those in the show notes with a link.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool,
Sure.
cool. That'd be great. Because I think sometimes with audio, it's like hard to like catch those and actually like figure out where they would
Oh
be.
yeah, when I say braid tech, what does that mean?
Totally.
Yeah, no, there are some good crews out there. The most of them are working in React if they're doing their web
Cool.
development. A lot of them have just read our code to kind of figure things out. I have one. The braid tech guy is a little obsessive, but in
Okay.
a good way,
Sure, sure.
about always improving his code.
Yeah.
And so now he's doing this whole like React hook transition,
Oh, cool, cool.
but then everything is hooks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
well, you want to. Some things are great as hooks, not everything. But
I feel like that's very much part of the like programmer, I don't know, pathology, I guess, is
you got to get through that phase.
being a little obsessive.
Yeah. Got to get through that phase of making everything your newest thing. Um, yeah, I reached out to a bunch of people last night, and I was like, hey, is there anything you could tell me that DIM has helped out? And then everyone came back was like, look, love it, read your code, helps me understand stuff. We've copied certain things or we borrowed certain things, and it's just great. Like, everyone's pretty open about appreciating having this open source product
Yeah.
available to them. I mean, I will admit sometimes it's frustrating because we're open source, and if we ever decided to go closed source to try to figure out a revenue model, like that's burned.
Yeah.
Because we are open now.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Because my the only thing I care about is the app living.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not here for me. I got mine. I don't need anything else, right? But I just want to make sure that DIM lives for that next 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always worried about is what happens when Ben gets tired.
Sure.
Or Nev gets tired.
Yep.
These main contributors, they're really producing a lot of the code. Because like I said, I've transitioned away to just doing the social stuff,
Yeah.
talking about the app,
Yep.
advocacy,
Yeah.
evangelism.
Which is a hugely critical part of the process,
Yes,
right? Like it.
propaganda.
So-
I'm out here like just ringing the bells, and but also like finding people to come and join and work with us, and establishing that community. But I'm always, like I said, worried about developers getting tired and burned out, and so yeah, I definitely try to pay for vacations with $1,000 contributions. Like, here, this should be enough for you to relax for a little bit and don't stress. Don't
yeah.
stress. Just enjoy it. Don't make it too stressful.
Well, I'm super fascinated by the idea of, products that have been able to, I guess, still make some kind of like paid product, but on
Mm-hmm.
top of like the open source side of things.
Yes.
And I, I think that that'd be super interesting to see how you'd be able to do something like that, because I think there's so many people who gain tremendous value from dim
Yes.
as a product, right? Not
Right.
necessarily like just an open source piece of software, but as a product. It feels to me like there's so many possibilities. um, and I mean, I don't mean this is unsolicited advice, but I feel like there's a lot of people who'd happily like actually contribute to a like or pay for a productized version of dim, or maybe like a
Yes.
couple extra features. um,
The big problem is the license agreement from Bungie. Because we
oh,
use their
right.
API for
Yeah, yeah.
free,
Yep.
we don't pay for it. They said that we have to provide DIM for free, full featured for everybody.
Interesting. Interesting.
But that doesn't mean we can't offer a paid version as well. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Oh, okay. Sure, sure, sure. So
The free version, which
yeah.
has everything, and there's a paid version which gives you nothing else. I mean, like it's just a paid version.
Yeah, yeah.
But it would be nice because if you buy it through the App Store, like Google Play, for example, you can have a $5 version,
Yeah, yeah.
and we can take our cut from that.
Yeah.
The website, it's just free. You can't
Sure.
really do too much there. One of our competitors, his strategy was the beta site is behind a paywall.
Okay.
So the latest and greatest
Oh,
features,
sure, sure.
which are still in development, he lets them linger.
Sure, sure, sure.
He lets them soak
Yeah.
for some time in
Marinate.
the
Marinate.
beta channel.
You want to get everything properly salted.
Yeah,
So
but people join his
yeah, yeah.
Patreon
Hmm.
to get access to that beta.
Well, it's fascinating, right? Because I've actually seen this model in other pieces of software. I think there's a Vim editor that does something similar, where yeah, the latest features are on like kind of like a private fork of it or whatnot,
Mhm.
and then they get merged in at like certain intervals. So like I guess
Yes,
in Destiny terminology, maybe like at each new season, like
yes,
kind of those beta features get merged into master, and those become like kind of the everybody gets to use, and then the new stuff,
yeah,
the new hotness is behind that
yeah, and
beta.
that's a way,
Yeah,
but it's kind of, once again, we're happy with things are.
totally.
We don't, I feel like it would hurt us building features like that because
Sure.
now what I'm nervous about is, like I said, the fatigue that we put on the developers for
Yeah.
making things, and then having them feel like they're required to do anything because someone paid for it.
Sure. There's
You
a
know?
it kind of takes the fun out of it, because now it makes it work again, right?
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
what we try to do. Like, we don't have a Jira for Dim. We don't do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
It is like Slack chat. Hey, what if I did this? Yeah, sure, go for it. Make a PR.
But if
Keep
you
it fun.
Yeah, but if you did, now it's like, okay, I'm going to go from my job to my other job.
Yeah.
uh
Which does not pay well at all. So we keep it fun. And
yeah,
so
yeah,
donations
yeah,
are it for us. We don't
yeah,
have any big
yeah.
dreams. I tell you though, in double checking, we're offline, right?
Oh, no, here, okay, we're going offline. Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Hey, thanks for being here. If you want to, I guess, get other live videos like this, just subscribe to the channel. And I don't know, I'm so bad at the whole pitch thing, but like, yeah, we're doing some live exploring the live thing for React Podcast, and these happen in real time before the episodes go out, and we got to chat so you can ask questions and all that. So, but for now, we're gonna go offline so I can hear all the secret stuff about the future of Destiny Item Manager. So, see you around.